In today's tutorial, let's work on the crochet scallop top together. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we have a crochet scallop top, and this is a really fabulous idea. Has a little bit of sleeve work, but don't let that worry you a little bit, and it has a little bit of a fancy work. I'm going to be breaking down this pattern step by step because the instructions on this particular one are pretty intimidating, but the reality is once you break it down by step, you realize how easy this item is. So let's stay tuned. Let me take you through the steps of learning more about this project. So my yarn of choice for this is the Caron Simply Soft, and this is called Ombre. The whole line is called Ombre, and you'll see that it has really kind of neat transitional colors. And this is called Saturday Blue Jeans within the Ombre line, and when you see my finished example it's actually pretty casual, and I'm gonna be using that today. You're also gonna need a size I 5.5 millimeter crochet hook today in order to play along. So let's go through the ins and outs of this pattern. First of all, it's available in sizes small all the way to 2 extra large. Okay, so that's what we have here today, and it's not a hard pattern in order to work with, and today's pattern I am going to be doing the small on camera with you, and you can just substitute the information that is available in this pattern to be able to follow along. We have a lot of instructions and it's very intimidating. I know speaking with my Jeannie, she loves these kind of things, and so she was quite intimidated with the setup row, and there's a lot of chain ones and spaces and whatever, but when you severely break this down you realize that it's actually a repeat pattern and it's not so hard. So what we're going to be doing today is that I've drawn up a diagram. I've done a few of them actually, and I'm gonna be walking you through that particular process. Now remember that when you see, for example, chain 74 and then the next one's 88, 102, 116, 130, these are the sizes of small, medium, large, extra large, and 2 extra large. So you have to substitute that information. So what I highly recommend for you is that if, for example, say you want to go for the large, so it'll be 102, so highlight the 102, and every time you see something like this, so you'll see it here again, it's the middle one there, 13 would be the large size there. So you just have to do that, and once you do that it becomes really quite easy. Now the sleeves are really quite easy itself, because the reality is that the sleeve, for example, there's only actually one extra row of scallops added to the sleeve, so no matter what size that you're gonna end up with, all of the sleeves will be the exact identical to each other no matter what size. So let's begin, and let me show you some of the diagram work, and then we're going to continue. So the pattern consists of a setup row. So we have a chain of a multiples of counts, and it tells you what those multiples are in this particular pattern. It said that the multiples were 14, and then it says chain multiples of 14 plus 4 for the setup row. The plus 4 is the turning chain area in the back, okay, in order to keep this pattern in balance. So even though it gives you all the measurements that you would want to do for the actual panel of 74, 88, etc., if you are chaining in multiples of 14, you can change any sizes. So if you want to go even bigger to maybe 3, 4, 5 extra large, you just have to keep it in sequence in order of multiples of 14 in order to make that happen. So that's pretty cool. So we have a diagram that I created here, and there's a lot of chain spacing, and there's a lot of skipping this and double crochet 2 together, but when you look at it from a diagram point of view, you realize how simple this item is. And once I just went a couple rows, and then I had this in my mind, and that was pretty easy and quick to do. I can tell you honestly, my particular one that I did was done in only 5 hours. That's how fast this item is. So what we're gonna be doing today is that we're going to be chaining in our multiples of 14, but we're gonna stick to what it's suggesting. So it's chaining of 74. This is just showing you the repeat pattern on the pattern. So we're gonna come in, we're gonna double crochet, chain 1, skip 2, and then double crochet, skip 1 only, chain 1, put 2 together. So here's the thing, when I was trying to follow this along in the written instruction, I was getting confused why sometimes I had to skip 2 chains and sometimes I only had to skip 1, and then I had to skip 3 down here. So once I drew it out, I realized that the fan work expands over, and what it does is it reaches over to the next stitch, so therefore you're skipping 2 chains here because the fan is reaching over. And so once I realized that, it's pretty easy. Now the only time you have to worry about this skipping of 3 chains is right in the very beginning, because once we get this pattern established in row number 1, every row is exactly identical to each other. So it's row 1, 1, 1, 1 all the way until we get to the top of the bottom of the sleeve area. So what we're going to do is that we're going to work our way up like that, and let me show you another diagram. So eventually we're gonna work our way up and we're gonna hit the sleeve line, and there's dimensions here, and that's provided in the pattern, and we'll talk about that as we get to it. And you're gonna work your way all the way up to there, and you're gonna stop, and we're gonna add sleeves. And all we're doing to add sleeves is that we're making this panel bigger by jetting out in one direction and jetting out in the other. So what's gonna happen here is that we're gonna work our way, and you'll see all of the scalloping. It does this formation. So it's gonna tell you at the end to stop. Okay, so you're gonna stop right here, and it says with another piece of string you're gonna add 14 to the other side of the same row, and you're gonna fasten off so that the 14 chains are just sitting there. It then says to pick up and chain 18, so you're gonna come out, you're going to then come up, and you're going to start doing the setup row again. So the setup row was back over here when we were working on the chain. So this is a new chain work that doesn't exist at the time, and what we're going to do is that we're gonna follow this. This is only one scallop, so it's basically from here to here. On the other side here, okay, this is the same thing. So this is the other side of the scallop on this side, so it's creating an additional scallop per side. So it says to chain 14 on this side, chain 18 on this side. The reason for that really is that you have a turning chain here, which was added more stitches, and because of that you have to have a longer chain in order to turn around to come back. So when you're going to do this, so we're gonna chain 18, and then we're gonna start coming back. So you're gonna just come across, and you're gonna do the setup row for when you're on this chain. When you're in this area, you're just doing exactly what you did before, and then when you hit the chain area, you go back to the setup row and follow it again. And so basically this is how we expand it, and then we just continue then for the remainder of the top as a wider formation all the way until you get to the top, and then the way that you finish off at the top matters, and I'll explain that in a moment as well. So once we get to the top, what's gonna happen is that you're going to leave 9 feet of yarn left on to things. So you can kind of not fasten off, but just leave 9 feet of yarn available to you, and then you can jump to the other panel and leave 9 feet of yarn. So 9 feet of yarn is gonna be hanging off this corner, and then 9 feet of yarn is gonna hang off this corner. This is gonna make the right sides face out. Okay, so when you're wearing it, you'll be looking at the good side. And with this particular pattern, it really doesn't matter which side you're looking at, both are gonna be equal. So with this 9 feet of yarn, what it's telling us to do is to create this look of doing the scallop, but only just until we hit the neckline, which is about 12 inches of space. So when I go to look at this particular item on her, what you will notice is that in 2 spots, if you do not like open shoulder work, just sew it shut completely, and don't even worry about doing what we're about to show you. But if you like it like this, all this is that there's one scallop here, and this is the edge. That's all that it's joining on this particular item. So that's why you only see me having, so there's the top of one scallop, the top of another scallop, and there's the edge, just like that. So we're gonna follow exactly the same instructions, okay, of going up and down, but when we hit to a top of the scallop, we reach over and secure the top of the scallop on the opposite side. We then fasten off right here, and then weave in your ends. You then come back to this side, do the exact same thing with this 9 feet of yarn, start and attach across, and then this is the middle of one scallop, and this is the other middle of one scallop, and you stop. So that's how you exactly put this thing together. And again, if you don't like that concept, just sew it completely shut with this 9 feet of yarn. And you obviously don't need 9 feet of yarn if you're gonna sew it shut completely, but it's completely optional. Once we're done that, you're going to then sew in the rest of your project. So I put X's, so these match these 2 edges together and sew them together, match these 2 edges together, sew together, match these 2 edges together and sew, and match these together and sew. So what we want to do is that once you're finished sewing, then when you're done the sewing, you're gonna turn this project the other direction so that all the seam work appears on the inside of this. So that's my very long introduction today. So let's get started, and we're going to work on getting you started with the setup row, and then I'll show you how to do row number 1, which you carry up all the way to the sleeves, and then we'll meet back up at the sleeve area, show you how to expand, and then we'll meet you at the top, and then you're gonna do that for 2 panels, and then we'll just show you how to put it together from that point. So let's start off with the setup row. We're gonna start our chain. Remember, I'm doing the small size here on camera with you. Substitute the information on the pattern for the size that you want. So you can either do 74, which I'm doing, 88, which is medium, large is 102, extra large is 116, and 2 extra large is 130. Remember, these are multiples of 14 if you would like to change the size, even making kid sizes. That's completely up to you. You just don't do as many chains. So let's begin, and we're going to come along and do our chain, and then we're gonna do our setup row, and then every row starting from this row going all the way up completely to the top is exactly identical, but we're gonna go to the sleeve area, add another set of scallops on both sides, and then continue right up to the neck. So here's an example of one of the panels. I'm working on it behind the scenes, make sure I understood the pattern, but you can see the scalloping going down. You can see how it matches the visual pattern that I had, and this is what we're trying to achieve today. Leaving an extra long tail just so you can use that to sew in. You want to do that with these kind of projects. You want to make sure you take care of that, and using a 5.5 millimeter size eye crochet hook today. We want to chain, and you're just gonna chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go to the size that you want. I'm gonna go to 74 for mine, and then meet me back here and we'll do the setup row together. So I now have my chain complete, 74, and now we're going to continue with the setup row, and we're gonna work our way back across this line. So these skipping, especially right in the middle, the skipping of 3 never happens once we get beyond this row. So this is what the setup row difference is with row 1 and setup row, and so we just have to be able to follow it along. So this is really establishing our chevron shapes, our scallops, and then in row number 1 and all rows above that, they're all just maintaining exactly what is already there. So let's continue with the setup row, and this is part 2. So you're going to go 4 chain from the hook. So look at your work and count back. So just the one underneath. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Get the back loop only of the chain, and I want you to double crochet in there. By getting that back loop, you'll create a nicer finish on the bottom of the top. So you're gonna double crochet in there. You're going to chain 1, and then we're going to skip 2 chains. So 1, 2, and you're gonna double crochet into the next one. So this is the partial top of a scallop. So whenever you're in the top of a scallop, you're always gonna skip over 2 in this particular area. So let's begin again. We're going to chain 1, and we're going to skip 1 stitch, and we're gonna do 2 together, but watch what we do with 2 together. So we're gonna wrap the hook and skipping 1, go to the second over, pull through the yarn, and pull through 2 and hold it. Now what I want you to do is go back to the chain and skip to the 4th available chain. So 1, 2, 3. So skip over those 3, go to the 4th, wrap the hook going into that chain, pull through 2, and now you have 3 loops on here, and pull through all 3 loops. So those 2 just became 1. So that is the bottom of a scallop, just like that. So let's begin, and we're gonna move up, and we're gonna go to the top of the scallop next. So we're gonna chain up 1, we skip 1 chain, 1, and go to the second one over for a double crochet, and now we're about to hit the top of a scallop already. That's how quick it is. So we're gonna chain 1, but watch, we're gonna skip 2 chains, and in the third one we want to put a lot of stuff in there. So we want to put a double crochet followed by a chain 1, put another double crochet in that one, followed by a chain 1, and put another double crochet in that one, followed by a chain 1. So there should be a total of 4 double crochets in a row there with chain 1s that separate them. So now we're gonna start going down. So this is what it kind of looks like. So we were at the top of a scallop on this side, we sunk down right in the middle, and now we went back over the top. So now we're gonna go down the other side. So let's chain 1 first. We're going to skip 2 chains, 1, 2, and double crochet into the next. Okay, chain 1, and now we're gonna do that 2 together like we did way over here, right here. So we chained 1 already, so we're gonna skip 1 stitch, go to the second one over, and we're gonna do 2 together. So we're gonna wrap the hook, pull through 2 and hold it, and now skip to the 4th empty one. So my chain is kind of twisting here. I'm just gonna untwist it, and I'm gonna count. So 1, 2, 3, and go to the 4th, wrap the hook and going into the fourth one over, pull through two and hold, and now you have 3 loops on your hook, pull through all 3 and that's done. So that was the very bottom of a scallop once again. So let's move our way to the top again. So chain 1, you're going to skip 1 stitch and double crochet into the next. Chain 1, and now we're ready to go up over the top of a scallop. So we're going to skip 2 chains, so 1 and 2, go to the third, and you're gonna put in a double crochet followed by a chain, double crochet followed by a chain 1 and double crochet back into that same one again, followed by a chain 1, back into that same one again, followed by a chain 1, and you want to carry on to that till you get to the 4 double crochets that you need in that top. Just like that. Okay, so you got the top of the scallop. So you're gonna chain 1 to start again, you're gonna skip 2 chains, go to the third one down. Okay, so whenever you're in the top of a scallop, just remember that you're always skipping 2 chains because the scallops make up the space, then chain 1, skip 1 and do 2 together once again. So go to the second over, and now you're gonna skip to the 4th empty one. So 1, 2, 3 and 4, and put these 2 together for the very bottom of the scallop. Chain 1, skip 1, double crochet into the next, chain 1. Now you're gonna do the top of a scallop, so you're gonna skip 2 this time, and the third one over you're going to double crochet, chain 1, double crochet because you're in the top of a scallop, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet, chain 1. So what I want you to do, no matter what size you're working on, I want you to carry on in that same fashion going all the way across, and you'll have like a rippling kind of effect, and you will see that in the bottoms here these are joining together, and you'll see one standing alone in the middle, and then your scallops there on the top. So carry on, and I'll see you at the end of this row. So I'm coming up near to the end of the row, and I have my 2 together. I've already chained 1, and now I'm working my way back up. Now this top is gonna be part of a scallop and a half on the top. So I'm gonna skip 1 and I'm gonna double crochet second one over. I'm gonna chain 1, and your very last stitch, which is the second one, which you're gonna skip 2 anyway, but your very last one is going to be a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet. That's it. Okay, so the top of the scallops, they were 4, but on the ends they're going to be 3. Now you're gonna say to yourself, well, you kinda doesn't look that way on the beginning. I followed the pattern exactly as is. It doesn't exist on this side here for this particular setup row, which is really not necessary anyway. It's not a big deal for this particular pattern. So let's turn our work, and we're going to review row number 1, which is the same row for your entire pattern until we get to the top of the sleeve area, and then we're gonna expand our stitches, but it's continuing to follow the same idea going across. You'll find this quite easy from this point forward. So whenever we start row number 1, every time that we do it, it's always gonna be the same. So we're gonna chain up 4, which counts as a double crochet plus chain 1. So 1, 2, 3, there's your double crochet, and chain 1, that's your space. So you're gonna come into these, see these spaces that are in between? You're gonna come right into the first space that's directly underneath, and you're going to double crochet into that space, followed by a chain 1, and into that same space one more time for a double crochet, like so. So here's what the outsides will always look like. So the first one will be right in an edge, and the next 2 will be right into a space. This is not the same on the other side, just so that you're aware, and you'll see that when we get over there. So we're going to now chain 1, and we're going to skip these 2 that are together and go right for these spaces. So we're gonna play in the spaces that are right on both sides of where these V and the next space. That's where we're gonna play for coming this forward. So whenever we're going in the down motion, that's where we're gonna look. So we're gonna double crochet in the first chain space, followed by a chain 1, and this time instead of doing and jumping over 3 to do the 2 together, you're going to do 2 together once in this space and once in this space. So they're gonna bring those together. So just go right into the space, pull through 2. So this is a double crochet 2 together, come to the next space on the other side, wrap the hook going in, pull through 2 and hold. So now you got 3 loops on the hook, pull through all 3, and you see you just matched exactly what you see below. You're going to chain 1 and work your way up the scallop. So here's the next one that we're gonna play. It's a chain 1 space. So just go in there. See how you just work for the spaces, and then we're gonna start doing the scallop at the top. So let's chain 1 first, and then I'll explain this to you. So we have 4 posts that are in here. You're gonna play right directly in the middle. So you got 2 here, 2 here. You're just gonna spread it open with your finger. Okay, there's a chain 1 space there anyway, and you're gonna plant 4 of those posts in there. So double crochet, chain 1, same spot, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet, just like that. So you got your 4 in there, and so every time you're on the top of a scallop, it's right in the middle here. So then you're gonna chain 1, and let's work our way down. So look for the spaces that you're gonna play. Where are you gonna play? You're gonna play here, right where both fingers, and here. Okay, so we're gonna put our first one in. The double crochet stands by itself, followed by a chain 1, and then these 2 are gonna come together. So wrap the hook, go into the next space, and wrap that hook and come into the next space, and let's put those together. It's a 2 together stitch, chain 1, and come to the next space that's available to you. It's a double crochet standing by itself, and then chain 1, and we're ready for a top of another scallop. So here there's 4, just go right into the middle one, like middle space between the 2 middle ones there. So it's double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. So that's the middle of your scallop, chain 1, and now we're ready to go down again. So do you see the up and down motion that you're doing? It's pretty easy, right? So let's play again. So where are the spaces here that you're gonna play? Right here is one, and here is another. So let's go. We're gonna put a double crochet by itself first, followed by a chain 1. The 2 ones here in the middle are gonna come together, 2 together, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet into the next space, like so, chain 1, and now you're ready for a top of a scallop. See, that's pretty easy, right? So the tops of the scallop, remember that there's gonna be 4 double crochets in there that's separated by chain 1s. So what I want you to do is I want you to do the remainder of the row like this. This is row number 1, and all of the rows are identical to this going forward all the way up to the sleeve, but I will review to get you started once again. Make sure that you do clearly understand that, and then I'm gonna leave it to you to get to the bottom of the sleeve. So go all the way to the end of the row, and I'll see you there in just a moment. So as you move your way across the line, you're gonna run into, and remember this one is a partial one on this side, and we have to handle that slightly different than what we handled the other one. So we're in the down motion. Remember we're playing in the spaces, so the next one are 2 together. So bringing that 2 to middle together. Chain 1. You're going to go into the next space for a double crochet that sits by itself. Chain 1, and this is what's different on this side. So in the very top, okay, in the very top there, we're going to place in the 3 trebles or doubles that are by themselves with chain 1s in the middle. So it's gonna be right in the top chain. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. So that's what's gonna happen on this row. So in the last one, what we had on this side here, if you remember, is that we went and did the first chain out, and then the first one appears in a space, where this one here on the ends, these all go into the top of a turning chain. So let's begin, turn our work, and let's try this row one more time, and then I'm gonna leave this to you, and I'll see you at the sleeve area. So let's begin this row, which is a repeat. So let's quickly speed up. We're going to chain 4 always to begin, and we're gonna come to the first space, and we're going to double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. So they're both in there. Okay, so then chain 1, and you're gonna work your way down. So there's the spaces, and there's the middles. You just look for it. So the first one's a double crochet by itself, followed by a chain 1. The 2 middles are gonna come together, so bring those together, followed by a chain 1. The next one is by itself in the next space, and chain 1, and then the next one here, here's your scallop. look for the one right in the middle, just go right into the space with the double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Okay, so that's your top, chain 1, and then coming down the other side again, so it's right in the next space, chain 1, bring the next 2 together, chain 1, and then come up the other side. So double crochet by itself, chain 1, and then you're at the back of the top of the scallop again. So it's gonna be 4 by itself, so 1 with a chain 1, 2 with a chain 1, 3 with the chain 1, and 4. Okay, chain 1 and work your way back down. So go to the end of the row. Let's I'll show you how to finish that row off again, and then we will carry on, and I will pick you back up where we're gonna do the sleeves next. So I'm coming up to the end of the row. I'm in the middle ones that you can see here, a chain 1, and I work my way back up, followed by a chain 1, and the final one is in the 3rd chain. Okay, so remember we chained up 4 and one of them was a chain 1 space, so I want to come into the 3rd chain up, and I want to get into that one, and that's where I'm gonna double crochet, chain 1, I'm going to double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. So you're just gonna carry on doing that all the way, and what you're gonna end up with is a large panel. And let's review the dimensions and the heights that you need to go to, but this is what it will look like until we get to the top and the bottom of the sleeve area, and then we're gonna pick up and we're gonna expand it to make room for sleeves. So what I want you to do is that we're gonna come right back. I'm gonna tell you what the dimensions are that you need to get to, and then I'll see you back at the top of the sleeves. So now you're going to follow this pattern up, and it says to do the repeat pattern until it measures, and you see 12, 13, 13, 14, and 14. These are the inches. So for my size of 74, because this is just like this, for the small it's 12 inches, for medium 13, large is 13, for extra large it's 14, and for 2 extra large it's 14. So I need this panel to go all the way for me all the way to 12 inches. Okay, and I just have it relaxed lying on something when I go to take that measurement, so I don't want to overly stretch it, because you can do yourself a disservice and stretch it just to try to save yourself some rows, but then when you go to wear it, it will not work. So when you come back, you should have this done, and then I'm gonna pick up at the sleeve area, and then I'm gonna show you what to do at that point. So now we're back. We have our block panel, and I have mine to be 12 inches tall, and I still have my work on the one side, and I need you to leave that on there. And what we're going to do in here, once we get to the height that we need to add on extra chains onto both sides. So right where this is still on, we're going to add a chaining of 18. So it said to stop right where we are, so I'm gonna just do this tutorial in sequence if it says it on the pattern. And then on the other side we need to add 14, but how do we add 14 over there when the yarn is over here? So it says with another ball of yarn add 14 chains and then fasten off. But can I tell you a secret? What I would do is just grab the strand from the same ball of yarn from either the outside or the inside, depending on how you grabbed it, and what we're going to do is that we're gonna grab the opposite side that has nothing, and we're gonna add 14 chains there, and then we're gonna fasten off, and then what we're gonna do is then we're gonna continue with this side, add our 18, and then we're gonna follow this across. So right where it's got the chain work as we go across, then it's the setup row again with following the chain work. So there's gonna be one additional scallop being added on one side, and then on the other side here, okay, there's gonna be another scallop on the other side. So this is just an easy way to be able to tell if you've got it right or not. So let's begin, and let's just keep it where we are, and let's begin. So this is where I've stopped, and I'm not done my chain 18 yet. I just want to pull up a loop, and with the same yarn ball I grab this the other side of the strand, okay, which is either mine is always on the, I always grab from a center pull, so mine's always on the outside. I want to create an extra long string, and I can use that to sew in afterward, and all I want to just do is that I want to grab the corner and just attach it at the the third chain up. Okay, remember there's always chaining of 4. So third chain up, I want to attach with a slip stitch. So just pull it through, and I want to chain 14. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 and 14. And what I want to do is that I want to finish that off now. So you got to be very careful here that you don't pull too tight or on anything, but all I'm just gonna do is gonna grab my scissors and I'm gonna cut a little bit of an extra long tail so I can use to sew that in. And all I'm just gonna do is that I'm just gonna pull it over and I'm just gonna pull it through the loop like this and just pull it tight. That's it. Okay, so this one here is now standing by itself. So when you come across this, you're going to be following the pattern as is, and then this is gonna be the new setup row for this round. So what we're going to do is put this back over here, and what we're gonna do is continue along in this row. So in this row here we have to add 18 chains. So the 18 is the setup row, but we have to have a turning chain, so therefore it ends up being 18. So we're gonna add, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, and 18. So once your 18 is there, you're now good to go. So at this point you're going to have your block here. You'll have chain on one side, you'll have a chain on the other, and now this will be your sleeves as you go and do your work. So let's turn our work completely, and we're gonna work across this chain like it's a setup chain, as if we're starting a project right from the very beginning. So just like we started before, we want to go 4 chain from the hook. So count back, so 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I want you to double crochet there. Treat this, okay, on the back loop like it's going to be a visible edge, so just keep on the back loop only of your chain. So now you're going to chain 1 and you're going to skip 2 just like you did before, and you're going to double crochet into the next chain followed by a chain 1, and now these are gonna, the next one we're gonna skip and we're gonna go the second one over and we're gonna create that 2 together. Okay, and remember we have to skip 3, 1, 2, 3 and go to the 4th for the other side of that 2 together, and then pull through all 3 loops and then chain 1, skip 1 chain, second one over, I'm gonna double crochet, skip chain 1, and now this is going to be reaching to the top of the scallop. So just reach up there and it's going to be the middle one right here. So just go right into the space. So just like it was a top of a scallop, see how you got 4? This time you only have 3 here, but just go right into the space here and create your scallop. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and chain 1. So that's your top of your new scallop. So before the scallop was only a partial, now it's just become full, and now you have a new scallop starting on the other side. So let's begin. You're just going to continue this row just like you had been, and again just coming to the next space for a double crochet, chain 1, and then put the next 2 together. Okay, so just carry on, and what I'm gonna do is I'll meet you at the close to the end of this row where we'll start up the other chain that's on the other side. And so all this is doing is just making this panel slightly wider so that you have some sleeves to work with. So carry on, and I'll see you near the close to the end of this row where we'll finish up the other side of the chain. So now coming up to the other side, and I'm working my way back up, and technically I would be running into an edge if it was the regular size, but now I'm making it bigger. And this time I want to do the scallop right into the actual chain 1 space. Before we had been going into the top of the turning chain, this time I want you to go right into a space and create a full scallop. So chain, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. So there's your 4. So now what we're going to do is that we're going to skip 2 and turn the chain over so you get the back loop only, and you're going to do a double crochet by itself. So we're doing the setup row once again, and chain 1, okay, skip 1 and second one over. You're going to do a 2 together, so you're gonna get that one, plus you're going to skip 3 of its buddies and go to the 4th for the other side, chain 1, skip 1, and you're going to do a double crochet by itself, chain 1, and now you're just going to skip 2, which is the next 2, and go to the final. And remember what we did in the finals. We just double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet. So now you're back to where you were started before, but instead of your panel being here, it's now extended on this side and it's extended on the other side to give you a much wider panel. So now you need to create this length now going to the neck, and let's review how many times that you need to do that. I don't know how many times, but I can tell you what the dimensions need to be, and then we're gonna meet you then back at the top where we're gonna start doing more of the final assembly of this project. So now back on the instructions, and I just showed you how to increase to get all the way across, and so now you need to measure the sleeve until the sleeve then has one of these dimensions. So this is exactly the same. So small, medium, large, extra large, and 2 extra large. So in my case the sleeve area has to be 9 inches. Okay, right from the whole sleeve. So right where, when you look at the other diagram that I had, okay, so this should be 9 inches from here to here. So what I want you to do is that I need you to do 2 panels identical to this, what you see, and what we're going to do then is that once we're finished a panel, make sure that you leave a minimum of 9 feet of yarn, minimum, because we need to use that yarn in order to fixing it to the neighbor. You can fasten out, but I wouldn't, because I think it would just not make sense. So just leave 9 feet of yarn every time you finish one of these, and leave 9 feet of yarn on the other one, and then we're gonna use both of those in order to put those together. So let's carry on, and I will see you at the top of this one. I have to finish this off camera first, and then we'll be back and I'll show you how to do the assembly next. So now we're ready for the next part of our tutorial where we're gonna start doing the assembly process. So where you see these shapes, the triangle, the circle, the equal sign, and the X, those edges will come together with a whip stitch. So then you'll force it. Here on the top it's slightly different, is that the top of her outfit, when you look at it from the photograph point of view, you will notice that it's actual stitch work that is joined together. So if you do not like an open shoulder, you can sew the whole thing shut if you wish, okay, or you can just follow along. So what's happened here is that you would have had to leave 9 feet of yarn, and one of the strands will be off to the one side. Okay, so it'll be off to the one side, and the other strand will be on the other item off to the other side of that. So if you've got these turned in a way that both of these strands are on the same side, then it means that's wrong. Okay, so you've got to just flip it so that one strand is off to one side, one strand is off to another. It's about 9 feet, and we're gonna use that yarn in order to seal the deal. So when you look at here, we're gonna join it twice. And when you look at it on the photograph point of view, is that on the edge, that's where it's gonna join, and then we're going to then do the same work across until we get to the top of the next scallop. But when we do the next scallop, when we're right in that chain 1 middle, right after we do 2, we're going to join it with the middle one of the scallop on the other panel, and then we're going to continue the work as normal until we get to the other scallop, and we're gonna do the same thing there, and that's where we're gonna finish. So that's why it's only 9 feet of yarn. So what you're looking at in this photograph here, or in my diagram, is that we're going to directly attach to our neighbor across the road, and then we're gonna do the scallop work, and then when we get across the road again, it's on the top of the next scallop, we're gonna come back down and get the next scallop, and that's where we're gonna finish that yarn. Once we do that one, we're gonna do the exact same. We're gonna turn the project around, okay, turn the project upside down, and use this strand then to attach to the neighbor on the other side. So both of these strands, that's what those are there for. So let me demonstrate on how to do that. So let's begin. So one panel is right in front of me, the other one is completely opposite, turned the other way, and the yarn strand, these are just loose ends from another part of the thing, but the yarn strand from this side, okay, is on the other side of the project where we're gonna use that strand to do the other shoulder. So let's begin. We're going to chain up 3, 1, 2, 3. What's different about that? Last time we had to chain 4. Well, the fourth this time is in the top of the first chain 3 here. Go into the chain 3 space, go in there and pull through as a slip stitch, and there is your chain 4. So now I want you to come back down into the space like you did before, and you're gonna do the scallop going like you normally would. So double crochet and then chain 1 and double crochet. So now you're completely attached across the road. Okay, so now you're going to chain 1 and work your way down the scallop like you did before. So it's just double crochet in the next space, chain 1, this is the middle one is next, you're gonna make those 2 together, chain 1, and then the next one is a double crochet by itself, chain 1, and now this is where we're going to attach to the next set of on the other side. Okay, so you got 1 and it's the next scallop on the other side. So let's go up. We're gonna do the first 2 double crochets. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. Now instead of chaining 1 now, I want you to come across, go to the chain 1 space on the opposite side and just yarn over and pull through. That is considered your chain 1 this time, and then coming back down into the project, do the rest of the scallop. So double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and now you can see that you've attached it twice. So let's continue along. So chain 1 and come down to the next space, chain 1, the next 2 are together like so, and chain 1 and come up the other side, double crochet, chain 1, and here's the last scallop before you're finished. So you're gonna do the first 2, so double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and this time you're going to go right directly across the road again to the next scallop that's available right in the middle, and you're gonna pull through and through and you're done. So this, what we're gonna do now is that we're gonna trim our yarn. Okay, if you would have had 9 feet, you'd probably be close to the end of that. So just pull the yarn through and using a darning needle, which I'll demonstrate in a bit on putting that together. So now you have your 3 spots. So if you're not happy with open shoulders, just go along with the darning needle and don't even bother to do this last step, but just sew it all together and then it will be completely shut like that. Okay, that's completely your business. So what I want you to do is do the other shoulder the exact same way, and then I'm gonna demonstrate on how to sew things together. Okay, I have both shoulders now done. The other one just took me a few moments, not very long. I want to demonstrate on how to hide in loose ends. You're going to need a sharp darning needle like so, because you want it to glide into the fibers, not into spaces, and so you'll have the most perfect finish if you can glide it into the fibers. So what you want to do is that you want to go into and glide it underneath, but making sure that the needle is capturing in between plies and etc. for about an inch like so, and then glide across. And then you're not gonna like reef on it, so that you want it to keep its natural relaxed. You want to go back in the other direction in a different path but very close to it, because if you go in the same path it'll fall out, and then just ramming it through some fiber work. Okay, so that you really do want it into the fibers. So that was 2, and then coming back in the third direction, again a different path but very close to it, different set of fibers in a third direction. All of your loose ends should be done this way, including the very starting strands that you had, and then once you've gone in 3 times you can safely cut that right down into the project and you will never see where you stopped and started. So you'll have the most perfect finish there. So you want to do that with all of your loose ends, and let me demonstrate now on how to do whip stitching, because now we have to join things together. And let me bring up my diagram once again. So now that my tops are here, they're all joined now. Now I just got to join. So don't join anything on the outside of here, because you'll never get your arms through it. So now we just want to fold it over, and so we want to match these edges. So what you can do is that you can just start here and just sew and whip stitch all, like go down and down. I just put this just to demonstrate what side this is. This is typical for crochet where they're asking you to match sides. So I would start on the edge and work your way all the way down to the base, and then fasten off and then start on the other side. So the reality is that you don't really have a lot of sewing left when you really think about it, and then any of the other loose ends that you had you want to do. So let's fold our project in a way, and when we go to fold this project, when I classify this as the inside seam, so just when I go to lay it out, this will be the inside of the project, and when I'm done I'm just gonna fold it I'm just gonna flip it the other way, and therefore these seams that I'm about to apply to the work will appear on the inside of your project. So let's begin. I'm gonna show you how to do the whip stitching. I want to take the one side of an extra piece of yarn that is gonna be our sewing yarn, and it matches the same colors that we're kind of working with anyway, so it's good, it's gonna blend. And the other side of that strand I want you to put a slip knot like you were about to start crochet. So what I want you to do is that I want you to start on a seam. Okay, so don't go into gapping spaces. Okay, you want to go right into chain work itself and go right into the chain and match the project stitch for stitch. It should be identical. So you're gonna pull through, and don't pull it all the way through, but what I want you to do is once you get to that slip knot, what you're about to do, insert the needle in, and that'll lock that strand from ever popping out on you because it's gonna tie itself into position. Now what are you gonna do with this? You can either use a darning needle and sew it in later, or if you sandwich it on top of the stitches, when you go and just tracing it down as you go to sew this together, if you leave it on the top it'll get stuck underneath this join. Therefore you will never have to deal with it. So you're just gonna move your way. Do not rush the process of skipping too many stitches as you sew. And what you want to do is that you don't want to make it so tight that the seam is not flexible, because your body is flexible. So if you make the seam too tight, and then your project will appear too rigid when you're wearing it, not being very flexible on the edge. Okay, so you're just kind of giving it a bit of tension, but you're not reefing on it. So all you're just gonna do is work your way down through the seam and follow it as it turns the corner into the armpit area. Now I've gone now about 2 inches here, so I'm just gonna safely cut that strand out because now it's underneath the stitches. If you feel more comfortable to hide it any other way, that's your business to do that if you wish. Again, this is your creativity. What I'm presenting online today is certainly just an idea, but of course you can do what works for you. So just as you working your way down, go into the stitches. Never go into an open gap space. And just kind of match the stitches that you see. So I see I have a scallop here and I have a scallop here. So when I go to match, I'm trying to get and making sure every stitch is aligning with each other properly so that it will sit properly on your body. Okay, so as I hit the corner, so I have another straggler here. I can either use a darning needle and get rid of that, or I can just safely just trap it right underneath the position as I go. Again, that's completely up to you. So what I want you to do is go all the way down the seam line, just matching things as you go, and then I'm gonna meet you at the back and I'll show you how to, or at the bottom of this, and I'm gonna show you how to hide in your loose ends and just do what we just did with being able to go back and forth 3 times, and I'll see you down there in just a moment. I'm now all the way down to the bottom, and all I just want to do now is that I want to tie this into a knot so it's in the bottom. So just kind of tie it so it's good. The other strand is just a loose end that I need to take care of, and just insert it through the loop. And that will lock it into position. So now what I want to do is that I want to go in and out of the work 3 times. So again, just what I showed you already before, just glide in the fibers back and forth 3 times. So 1, again don't pull it too tight, going back in the other direction, but through a different path, through lots of fibers, and 2, and 3. So what I want you to do at this point is that I want you to do the other side, and I want you to weave in all your, or get rid of all your loose ends in your project. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to steam my project, and I'll show you just a quick visual on what to do. I have a Conair steamer, and all I'm just gonna do is just run a steamer right over top of it. It'll cause the stitches to relax, and it will form to the body a lot better, so the yarn will come back to its original kind of relaxation state, and it will look better when you're wearing it as well. So without further ado, let me show you now an example of my finished project, and that's it for today. So until next time, it's Mikey on behalf of the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. Have a great day, and we'll see you again real soon. Bye bye.